Hey, how we doing out there on this Wednesday evening, guys? Hope you're staying safe. Hope you're staying warm. If you got snow, send it my way. I've not seen snow in a few years. We're actually potentially getting some here in the upstate of South Carolina. So I'm hoping it comes because it's been a few years since I've actually seen it. So send it on this way. But let's talk some Tennessee football tonight. I'm going to bring some more content later on, talking about some Tennessee baseball, some preseason accolades given out today. And I definitely want to address the debacle in Gainesville last night as well. So I'll probably bring a couple videos on that tonight, and Lady Vols as well. A lot of content to record in a little bit of time. But make sure you hit that like, that share, that subscribe. So we'll get into some Tennessee football talk tonight. Some of it already know. Not really a lot out there. Really tried to scrape together kind of what I could come up with tonight that I feel is kind of newsworthy. And some of it's already out. Most of it may be out there already. But, let's kind of review. So we'll start with portal commitment we got yesterday, which was big. Portal visitor, or scheduled portal visitor. And then we're going to look at portal needs. And then we'll look at what I think is going to happen with the expiring contracts of the coaches on the defensive side of the ball and special teams on that. Excuse me. But the first one, the biggest news to me, Amari Jefferson, former Alabama wide receiver, has committed to Tennessee. Now, why am I doing this a day later? Well, time is an essence right now. Being a teacher, we did start back this week, so not had the time that I've had the last 2 weeks. So I'm going to try to catch up on a lot tonight and get some things done on here. But Jefferson commits. He's listed, depends on where it's at, around 6'1", give or take 200 pounds. He was originally committed to Tony Vitello and Tennessee baseball. He went to Alabama. It was pretty well thought he was going to play football and baseball. Based on what I'm reading now, though, it seems to me like he's just coming to play football, and that could change. But, that seems to happen pretty often, I feel like, anymore. Guys who go to play both sports end up just really focusing on football when it comes down to it. And, again, with Jefferson, he adds your seventh wide receiver to the room. He adds your fourth returner. So he has 4 years of eligibility left. So now you have, of course, returning Chris Brazel, Mike Matthews, Braylon Staley. Now you add Amari Jefferson to the room as well. If Tennessee would have had their way, this would have been their room without having to go to the portal, because they, of course, wanted Amari Jefferson pretty bad last year. He ended up choosing to go to Alabama and committed to Nick Saban. When Saban left, I think, and of course, Jefferson did not play this year. He had a hip surgery, but it is said he will be good to go for spring practice. He adds the fourth scholarship guy to the room as far as college eligible guys. Now, what do you expect from a guy who has not played already? I mean, that's the question for me. And then, of course, you're going to add Travis Smith Jr., you're going to add Rodarius Jackson, you're going to add Joakim Dotson to the room. That's 7 wide receivers. Of course, Boo Carter is supposedly going to play some wide receiver as well. How much? Is it a package? Is it, some gimmick stuff or what with that? To me, I think you need one more wide receiver. I think you need one more guy. It's not going to be Malik Benson. It's not going to be, of course, Zachariah Branch. We know those are kind of out of the equation here. So, to me, where do you go? What names? Will there be any more names come up after you've got the semifinals Thursday night, tomorrow night, and Friday night? Will there be any names hit the portal after those teams go out? And then, of course, your championship game scheduled for January 20th, if I'm not mistaken, on that. Will there be any more go? Tennessee, of course, I think will scout those wide receiver. And to me, I don't think you just add a body to add a body. I don't. I don't think you just add to add. Could you convert a guy or what? I think more or less they're going into the season with 7, 8, if you count Boo Carter. And then I think you're looking more or less to, excuse me, I just noticed that light in here. But I think you look too at adding a guy that can help, especially in the portal. You're going to have to pay money. I don't think you just pay money for a warm body. That's my opinion on it. But this wide receiver room looks to me a lot better than it did. Here's something I think we need to keep in mind on portal, and I read this, and I think it's really true on it. Well, it seems Tennessee maybe has not been as aggressive as other teams and stuff. Who's to say Tennessee did not choose, though, to pay their own young guys, and they're committed to playing these young guys moving forward? I think that's a combination of it. I think they looked at the wide receiver room, and I think some of these guys got the hint. And, of course, you've had Leacock to Purdue. You've had Nimrod to South Florida with Alex Golis. You had Caleb Webb to Maryland. Spillman was considered a walk-on. I thought he was actually a scholarship guy. He was considered a walk-on. He was brought in to get his brother. Let's make no mistake about it. Squirrel White to Florida State. So, part of me wonders if Squirrel White wasn't told to find another place, because supposedly he was searching for a place closer to home. He's not closer to home in Tallahassee. Probably got paid pretty good for it. I think it's a case of he went out looking for more NIL, and I can't blame him. He had to do what he has to do right there. So that's where I think you're at with wide receiver. One more, and I feel pretty good. And it's not for sure if they add one more. I think it has to be the right guy, in my opinion, for them to add one. Another name that's popped up now, you've probably seen this, USC offensive lineman, interior offensive lineman, Emmanuel Pregnon. He is scheduled to visit right now. Now, I've not seen the date on when that will be, though, is the thing of it. I've not seen a date. I got to think it's coming up. I have seen some talk. Oregon feels pretty good right now. And I don't know that anybody can outbid Oregon if it's coming down to money. You got to think Phil Knight, that Nike money, they're fully backing the program. If it comes down to money against Oregon, I don't think anybody's going to outbid them. Now, not every guy's in it for money either. Not all of them. But, I don't know here. This is a guy, too. I run across another YouTube channel, Trojan Blade, that's a USC one. And the guy who done that one, the little bit I listened to on it, he said this is not one that USC wanted to lose. He said Pregnon was USC's best offensive lineman this year, and he said he would have been their best offensive lineman next year as well. So the USC fan, at least Trojan Blade, according to them, not happy about losing Pregnon to the portal. So can Tennessee get that? He has visits lined up. If you get him to campus, that's going to be the big thing. If you get him to campus, then it's serious. I say that with all these portal guys. Now, Jefferson didn't come to campus. He didn't visit unless it flew under the radar. I got to think that was in action well before he hit the portal. You got to think it is. The fact that the predictions come in, the Monday night chat on VolQuest, people were asking Austin Price questions, and he was real just short and saying, people were like, do you feel good? Yes. Is he going to visit? No. That's pretty good indication to me that one was pretty much a done deal. This would be a good one for Tennessee to get Pregnon in here. And we can sit and gripe about, well, the young guys, they're not developing. You know what? At this point, I don't care. Just get the best players in here and make the football team the best that you possibly can. If you got to go to the portal for it, you got to go to the portal. I don't care. I really don't. Get the best football team you can get. And, if a lot of that money went to keeping the team intact and what I think will be a good football team next year, I don't know if they'll have a better record or not, but I think the team is really set up. Wide receiver, they're going to have to prove it. But we saw in that Vanderbilt game when Thornton and McCoy were out some. Thornton had the long touchdown the game, don't get me wrong, but besides that, Brazel Matthews showed potential. They look pretty good. There's potential there. How does that wide receiving core develop? What's going to happen at running back? I'm not saying the team will be better, but I like their potential. I think there's areas they will be better. It's going to be hard to beat the production of Dylan Sampson. It really is. Wide receivers, I think, can be better. Tight ends, I think, will be better. And that's not saying anything they did wrong this year. It's just that all you lost was Holden Stays. You've got Kitzelman coming back. Ethan Davis should grow. You're adding Brame. You're adding Van Dorsler. You got Cole Harrison, who they like. I think it's a good room. And personally, I think the offensive line can be better. I think you add David Sanders Jr. at right tackle. Depending on what happens with the interior line, you're going to add Wendell Moy Jr., who's signed. Is he a left guard or right guard? If Andre Karich gets another year eligibility, there's your left guard. He's trying to get another year. I think it's probably going to be William Satterwhite at center, and then Lance Hurd will be back. He's got I think he will grow this year. I think he had a tough year, but he's a young guy, and I expect him to fully take a step next year. Defensive line was really good this year, but there's area I think they can do better with sacks. Their sack numbers went down a lot this year. How can they get more creative with getting to the quarterback? That's going to be a key. I think with Portal, let me finish where I'm going with it. Linebackers, I think, can be better. And I'm factoring post Keenan Pili because it was obvious, they missed him a lot. Their coverage was par a lot of times. How much better can this unit get? There's a lot of talent. You're adding, hopefully, a fully healthy Edwin Spillman. You're adding a Jaden Harmon. And if you've watched his video, it's pretty off the charts. It's pretty phenomenal, to be honest. The way he can hit, the way he can run. I like what they've got there. I like you get Arian Carter in another year, T-Lander another year, Spillman, Harmon. You add some more guys into the equation as well. This was a good linebacking core. I felt like that they added to the high school ranks. And I've seen people saying, well, maybe they need a linebacker through the portal. I really don't think they do. I think this is one you have talent. It's just developing it. And spring practice will be big for that unit. And then your secondary as well. I think the secondary will take another step this year. You're losing Will Brooks, who, he's going to be a loss. But I think you can – I still think that safety spot can be okay. I think you're looking at Jordan Thomas. You're looking at possibly Edris Farouk moving in. What about some of these guys at redshirt? I mean, a Christian Charles, who did some pretty good things this year as well. I think we'll be all right in the secondary. I think that defense can take another step this year. What can this unit do to take another step? And I get the Georgia and the Ohio State game plans, but I still think that unit can take another step. So now I'll look at portal needs. I think you need a running back. They have been mentioned possibly with Ty Edwards, Northern Iowa running back, who looks pretty good. He's a bigger dude as well. There's still running backs hitting the portal that's out there. I think you're good. Obviously, you're good quarterback. Offensive line, seems they still want an interior offensive lineman. They're good at tight end. I'm curious to see if they add one more wide receiver. I really think you could withstand to use maybe one proven wide receiver at this point. Defensive line, I'm thinking if you can get 1 to 2, especially some tackles, that'd be good. Linebacker, I think you're good. And the only way I think you add in the secondary is if you can get a stud. I know Washington has a corner, Thaddeus Dixon, who's considered one of the best in the portal, who listed Tennessee as one of his top 4, but he's not scheduled to visit here. So I don't even know if that's a serious thing or not, because Tennessee does not need help at corner unless they're planning on shifting somebody to safety. And I just don't see where you move Ricky Gibson, nor do you move Jermond McCoy after what they did this year. I thought they played really good ball. The Ohio State game was an outlier. And, when your line doesn't get pressure, when it's not aggressive, that's what happened with Georgia and Ohio State. Georgia, due to not have, that was the one good game the Georgia wide receivers had this year was against Tennessee. They were pretty rough the rest of the year. Of course, Georgia's going out trying to fix that unit with Zachariah Branch. Last I'd seen Noah Thomas. I'm not sure if he's committed or they're the favorite to get him. But Georgia's going out trying to improve that unit as well. We're going to see what Tennessee does. I think they feel pretty good about some spots along the way. That's where I believe they're at with portal. That they could add a few more guys, but you got to take into account the scholarship limits as well, because as of right now, that 105 has not been put into place. Tennessee is still down some scholarships from the Pruitt era. Last I had seen, they were around 81. I don't know if that counted Jefferson or not. So to me, I think Tennessee's getting pretty close to getting full. Now, will there be more guys who hit the portal after spring practice? It's definitely possible. But I think pretty much everybody who's here now, if they haven't hit the portal, I don't really expect that they will. And I'm kind of surprised at some guys who haven't. But you never know. You stick around. Who knows? At some point, these guys could develop. And then, last thing I want to hit, moving on to coaching news. Tim Banks, to me, it's starting to look like it's going to be back next year. We've not heard anything about an extension. He has been on the road recruiting. He's been out with Heupel. He's been out making visits. I've seen where he and Rodney Garner were out making some visits. And, I would expect nothing less because he is still under contract. But Not really. I think Miami did fill their defensive coordinator spot, and then, if I'm not mistaken, and then Clemson, I've really not heard much there. Not to say that he couldn't pop up with it, but I don't expect. I don't know. It kind of doesn't sound like that's the way Clemson's going to go based on what I've read so far. I fully expect Tim Banks to be back, and to me, I think it's a good case, best case scenario for Tennessee because his unit has improved every year. And I get, having a problem with the game plan a couple times, but what coach ever gets the game plan right 100% of the time? None of them. None of them. So sometimes you have those. I hope they learn from it, though. That's what I want to see in those big games. I want to see a defense coming out trying to win the football game, not just trying to play conservative. And I felt like that's how they played against Ohio State and Georgia, and that got them beat. It got them beat in that game, not being aggressive, giving good quarterbacks all day to throw. Cannot do that against teams like Ohio State, nor Georgia. Willie Martinez, based on what I've read, I think you'll probably see Willie Martinez back. And I don't have a problem with that. That unit, yeah, we consider and say, well, the DBs don't get their heads turned sometimes. But, overall, though, we saw a big improvement out of those corners this year. We saw a big improvement. So we've seen development out of them. You got to give Willie Martinez, you got to give Tim Banks credit for that because I thought that secondary took a big step this year. Let's don't deny who gets the credit. It's Willie Martinez and Tim Banks. They both, Banks with the safeties, Martinez with the corners. I don't have a problem with that. The one I'm starting to wonder is Mike Eckler. Mike Eckler will be out of contract. I seen something from a Nebraska site talking about, I don't know if it was like a Nebraska YouTube or what, saying that basically they think Eckler would go to Nebraska if he gets offered. Nebraska has an opening for special teams. That's another one I think. Here's where I think you could benefit on that is you hear the name Coach Chop. I think he moves into an assistant coach role. Who goes to special teams? Then, to me, if I had to choose, I don't want to lose Coach Chop. He is one of, if not your best recruiters on the whole staff. How many guys do we hear Coach Chop mentioned with? So if Eckler goes to Nebraska, I think it's a pretty good possibility. I read that Chop moves somewhere into the coaching staff officially, out of the analyst and into a coaching staff. You've got to have recruiters. I've seen it said William Inge has special teams experience. So could he, work with special teams? Tennessee has some flexibility with these guys, but that to me kind of seems like the one that's possible that Eckler maybe is not brought back and Chop goes on the field. That's kind of the way I'm reading things. Other than that, I think everybody else will be back. I really do. We'll see on that. Things could change. I mean, it's not for sure Banks won't go to Clemson, but I think Banks' name's getting floated with contract coming up, and based on that defense was really good, I think that's getting floated for possibly a raise, and I don't blame them. Don't blame them one bit on that. We'll wrap up on that one with you. I hope you enjoyed the content. Make sure you hit that like, that share, that subscribe as well. I'm still up at air on post-game Lady Vols LSU tomorrow night. I hope to be, but I've got to go up the road a while. I do not know that I'll be back in time. If I'm back, I'll try to get it set up and go live. If not, so basically just keep an eye out. If it's posted, it's posted. If it's not, it's not, because I cannot guarantee anything, and I don't think I'll be able to prior to it. So have a great rest of your evening. Frank, House of Orange. Last but not least, go Vols.